Prof, I'm going to stick to my mandate, which is to get the audience to really engage. So I'm going to deny my panelists an opportunity to respond right now. I'm going to throw it back to you. Let's get another round. Are there any more questions from the floor before the panelists respond? So we've got, Mtandazo, no, you can't ask again. So let's ask, Dumsani, you can't ask either. So let's take the gentleman. Yes, please, the gentleman, the second gentleman over there. And do we have a lady that would like to pose a question in the room representing us? So we'll only take two. The minister's program has to wrap. So let's take those final two before we wrap the program.
Thank you very much. My name is Kemi. I'm from Ekurhuleni municipality. How can we, from the municipality angle, be more supportive? And that's what I'm looking at. How can we, because we deal with the coalface service delivery issues where people want to see NDP and all other issues, whether it's socio-economic rights, equality, and so on, at coalface level. So how can we start integrating on at municipal level, local government level, to start bringing the concepts in the NDP into operation? Thank you.
Kenny, thank you. I think that's a very, very important question. Let's get the final question from the gentleman. Yes, please, sir.
My name is Jerry Sostenes from Burundi. I would like to use this opportunity to convey my sincere gratitude to the South African government for the effort we have been doing for Burundi. My question here is that how NDP is going to assist Burundi as it did before, and especially in the next year election and above.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Powerful questions.
Well, I think let me share with the state secret. I have to be at Waterkloof at 9 to receive the president of Palestine. So how I'm going to get there, I don't know. But also say, interestingly, Burundi is now applying to become a member of SADC. Those who say SADC is not working, Uganda wants to join SADC. So if we're not careful, AU will become SADC. So there's something that's working about SADC that SADC member states have to realize that it's working. How do we make ordinary citizens appreciate SADC? Who are these member states representing? Our people have always been one. In fact, governments are responding to what our people are saying, or who they are and what they're about. Leaders who are leading this country today, I keep referring to Abud Meg Susulu here. Ask how many passports did he travel on? When SADC was still SADDC, I don't know, he's been Swazi and what, and he's traveled on every other neighborhood's passport, Basotho and all that. So when we say development is about our people, it's very good for our academics to critique, but we also need to just say what works. And you know, unfortunately, the men who must tell us on what works on SADC had just left. So I am promising that we will be around. We need to go back and have a much more intense debate about how development must continue to be our people, about our people and by our people, and that this growth has to be inclusive. If we don't do that, we will get the kind of wake-up call that the ruling party of Botswana almost got. When they thought they were okay, they are loved by others, they said, no, we don't care whether you're changing leaders. We are just saying you have been the same party from 1966, so go away. So, may I please leave?
Minister, thank you so much.
Okay.
I think what we will do now is just allow our panelists just to give a closing remark each. I think there are a couple of issues that they've noted down and that they probably want to address. And thereafter, we'll just get a vote of thanks and conclude the evening. And maybe let me start off with you, Mr. Malik, since you've got the mic.
First of all, thank you for this opportunity to be part of a wonderful debate. And a final comment on institutions. When the world changes, institutions have to change. And the reality is at the global level, certainly, maybe also the regional level, we still have 20th century institutions dealing with 21st century problems. And we have to find a way out of it. And I think this issue of focusing on Southern Africa, focusing on Africa, has to bring in the wider world, particularly the South, because that's where new opportunities lie. This is where new opportunities for partnership lie. And I think we have to find ways of moving forward without being overly theoretical about it, and just say, these are the issues we have to deal with, and these are the ways we want to perform and move forward. There's a lot of diversity, a lot of very interesting experiences globally, and this is the time to harvest all of it. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Prex, let's get your concluding comments.
Thanks very much. I think the key point I'd like to raise is the issue of this rising global South, the need to interrogate who exactly is rising in the global South and who isn't, the issue of growth, and why it measures war and doesn't measure peace, and why it doesn't measure women's contribution to subsistence farming, for example. So what's the understanding of growth? And finally, I suppose I'd like to raise the challenge to human rights that is being framed at the international level, that is influencing the decision, the statistics that I quoted around 95% of South Africa's rural water being used by the corporate sector, and that is that there's a global contestation of human rights. That the Nestle CEO can say that water is not a human right, that the General Agreement in Trade and Services says that water, health, education, etc., are not really human rights. They can be, they're first and foremost commodities. I think the issue of how would we change that? I think South Africa has been part of a UN resolution at the Human Rights Council, which is quite an important resolution. It's the call for a binding treaty in relation to business accountability for human rights. I think we should actually talk more about that at some point.
Thank you, Dr. Governor. Let's get Dr. Zondi.
Thank you very much. I'm just going to reiterate 3 points. One is that fundamental to our success is going to be the kind of citizenship that we develop, the kind of a new citizen that is committed to holding governments and business to account and make sure that things are happening. Because the demographic dividend on the African continent, the huge numbers that are there, are going to matter when this is harnessed into active citizenship. The second thing is that this idea of building a developmental state, meaning by that a state that is able to intervene strategically in order to direct the distribution of resources and advantage in society, we have got to move very fast in it. The third factor, success factor, over which we're a little more limited control over, is an enabling international environment in a greater cooperation, greater interdependence, greater respect for rule-based international relations and all of that. And for that, the only hope we have, I think, is our participation in critical fora that are handling that and have a greater capacity to make a difference in that. And those are the BRICS, the G20, and the United Nations. Of course, the new emerging ones like the KIVETs and others hold out hope that we might be able to manage to instill that culture of rule-based multilateralism globally, because we can benefit from that. Thanks.
Thank you, Dr. Zondi. Professor Pillay, your final concluding.
I'll be very brief because economists, we're reaching a point with economists called diminishing returns. So the point I want to make is that the Economist about 7 years ago called Africa the hopeless continent. 5 years later, it says Africa is rising. Which of these is true? And I want to conclude with a very narrow issue, and that is that we need to interrogate the growth-development nexus much more intelligently than we do so. We're obsessed with numbers in terms of how much of growth, not what kind of growth, and who benefits from growth. And I think if we make that shift, both as a country and as a region, I think that it would be much more beneficial to enhancing development in the region.
Thank you very much. And I think at this point I'd like to call on Professor Thomas Mogale just to come forward to give us a vote of thanks and to allow us to wrap the evening. Thank you for having us.
I'm going to thank the Honorable Minister in absentia, Minister Maite Nkoana Mashabane, Excellencies who have joined us in this public lecture, academics, and all varied leaderships of the country, as well as every member of this audience that's here today. Let me express sincere gratitude on behalf of Wits School of Governance, the Oliver and Adelaide Tambo Foundation, the Department of International Relations and Cooperation, for bringing us together and making this event possible. I'd also like to acknowledge and thank our unsung heroes and heroines who have pulled this thing together. Kugin, as well as Mateku, Badana, and your charges. You've done an excellent work. I know it's been quite a challenging and demanding exercise, coordinating the logistics, both from our side as well as from DICO. The Oliver and Adelaide Tambo debate series is a collaborative project between Wits School of Governance and the Oliver and Adelaide Tambo Foundation, and consists of 10 public debates spanning over 15 months that primarily focuses on how to implement the recommendations of the National Development Plan and for making it a living document. Let me thank the department for giving us such a warm welcome and a warm hosting, for enabling us to engage and to debating the topic, does international relations plus economic diplomacy equal inclusive regional growth? Thank you very much for providing us with a venue to engage in this debate. In the same vein and in the same spirit, let me express sincere thank you to the Tambo family that has been a staunch supporter of this public lecture series, and I've seen them virtually on every of the past events that we have held. We appreciate and thank you for showing such support. My appreciation and thanks to Professor Antonie van Niekerk from Wits School of Governance, who has taken time with a broken hand to put together these document, which we now add, which today places the issue of National Development Plan in sharp focus. His presentation was successful in raising the critical questions of the relationship between South Africa's development imperatives and its foreign policy. Simply put, to what extent do South African government's foreign policy priorities support implementation of the National Development Plan, not forgetting the role foreign policy has played or is going to play in realizing this vision up to 2030. Ladies and gentlemen, excellencies, thank you very much for being so attentive and for supporting this public lecture. And in each vendor, we say Lokovera, which means the day is old. And thank you very much.
On that note, ladies and gentlemen, I'd like us to close by maybe tapping into the Twitterverse and getting a sense of the conversation that's been going on Twitter while we've been having this dialogue here. One of the conversations that have come through have come from @Zutu-M. He says, development in South Africa must always be about our people first and not about pleasing others. Another one that has come through says, South Africa is rich in natural resources but has high levels of poverty. How does government address this? And a final tweet coming through saying, fast-tracking the NDP can unlock South Africa's alleviation of hunger through Operation Phakisa and others. Hashtag Tambo Debate. And I think that's a good note to leave the conversation today. We've had a conversation both in this room. We've had a conversation with academics, with leaders of civil society, with policymakers, and indeed the audience and the Twitterverse. Thank you so much for making the time to join us. From myself, Nozi Pombandra, it's goodbye.